This illustration deals with grounding. NEC 404.9B as in boy, 1 through, I shouldn't say through, and B2. The purpose of the change, a revision, was accepted. A revision has been made to clarify that historically this section has addressed general use snap switches. However, the topics covered need to apply equally to designing switches as well as dimmer switches and other switches with compatible control functions such as occupancy sensors that are located in similar environments. The term general use switch must be retained because that is the way the device is covered and defined in Article 100 and many other code provisions, such as 430.109C2, C as in car 2, rely on this definition. This revision formerly required faceplates to be grounded because that is somewhat vague, and in this case needs to specify the intended electrical connection, which is to the equipment grounding conductor. This revision closes an unintended loophole and the first condition of the exception number 2. The existing wording focuses on the nameplate, supplied with the device. The revised wording focuses on the design of the device. This will prevent an aftermarket substitution of a metal faceplate that cannot be readily bonded to an equipment grounding conductor. So, for example, let's look at the box, the non-metallic box. That's first I'd like to discuss in 404.9B1. And secondly, you notice we have the equipment bonding jumper coming out, connecting to the green screw, which is titled Equipment Grounding, Bonded, and Grounding Screw, 404.9B1 and B2. And notice when we connect either the equipment ground or the bonding jumper to that green screw, we ground the yoke there, and you see the 632 metal screws in the call out mounts it to the plastic box, which it doesn't have any grounding capability. It's non-metallic. And notice that we are using general use snap switch, dimmer, or control device, and the rule does not retain or pertain just to snap switches. But notice we don't necessarily have to have the equipment grounding conductor or bonding jumper connected to that green yoke if you have a self-bonding yoke and screw that would bond the yoke into a metal box that is grounded properly by the code. So what this section deals with is that you can't have a metal plate over this dimmer without bonding it in such a way that it couldn't become energized and shock someone. And then it also includes other items in addition to a snap switch, like dimmers, electronic control switches, other items are referenced there. And if we reference in the 2015 edition of 70B, we looked at reference 24.5, then it sends you to Article 404 to change out a switch where it's one-on-one. You're just changing the switch. But we go to this section 404.9B1 and B2 when we're installing this dimmer or this general use switch or electronic type switch. We're installing it from scratch. In other words, we're installing it for the first time. So we don't want to get mixed up with NEC rules and 70B rules. NEC is basically installation. 70B is maintenance, and 70E is safety-related work practices when you're working on energized conductors and components or gaining access to such. And OSHA seems to drive these codes. The OSHA 1910 subpart S. So keep this in mind when you're reviewing this section. It deals with more than just a general use snap switch listed here, and it also requires a metal plate to be bonded and grounded into the grounding electrode system.